Hello. This is Antje from Byte Shuffle. Thank you for always watching our videos. This time, I've put together a guide on how to play against Cephalid Breakfast when using Doomsday, including strategy tips and sideboard considerations. This is part 2 of the match against INF that I announced earlier. I apologize for the delay in getting the video published. Once again, I've included some generous feedback from INF in this video. I hope you'll stick around until the end. There's also a link to the pile breakdown video in the description, so feel free to check it out. Here is the deck list we will be using this time. I'm going to keep this hand, I'm just missing Doomsday. My opponent kept the cards off Ponder and drew. It seems likely that they're on either a control deck or a Nadu deck, using discard to scout ahead. I took Force of Will. I'm going to dig for Doomsday. I didn't find it, so I'm shuffling. The Surveil effect left the card on top of the library. I'll counter it with Daze. I'm going to search for Doomsday. My opponent shuffled off Ponder. I'm going all in. From here, I'm increasing my mana to set up the combo. With Dark Ritual and Lotus Petal in hand, I'll use Night's Whisper to draw into Cavern of Souls and a second Thassa's Oracle, setting up for a win on the next turn. I probably won't need the 4th and 5th cards in the pile, but I'll include some potentially useful ones just in case. I built the pile in the following order: Duress Thoughtseize, Thassa's Oracle, Cavern of Souls, Night's Whisper. I'm using the pile opener to draw through the pile. I win the game with Thassa's Oracle. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. First, the conclusion. I will explain it step by step. First, let's briefly go over how the Cephalid Breakfast deck works. By the way, the name Cephalid Breakfast comes from the idea that Cephalid Illusionist quickly eats through the library, hence the breakfast reference. There are generally 2 main combo lines in the deck. The first line involves getting Cephalid Illusionist onto the battlefield and pairing it with Nomad's en-Kor or Shuko to quickly mill their entire library. During this process, Narcomoebas are milled from the library and enter the battlefield through their triggered abilities. Then, using the Narcomoebas and other creatures on the battlefield as fodder, they cast Dread Return to bring back Thassa's Oracle and win the game. The second combo line involves getting Nadu, Winged Wisdom, onto the battlefield and combining it with Nomad's en-Kor or Shuko to draw a massive number of cards, eventually winning through sheer card advantage. Now, let's get into the main topic. Here are the cards in Cephalid Breakfast that can impact Doomsday. First, against a variety of counterspells like Force of Will, Daze, Force of Negation, Flusterstorm, and Consign to Memory. We bring in Mystical Dispute, Flusterstorm, and Duress. Mystical Dispute is especially useful because it can also counter key threats like Nadu, Winged Wisdom, and Cephalid Illusionist. In this matchup, the opponent runs cards like Voice of Victory, Teferi, Time Reveler, and Cavern of Souls, so just sitting back and relying on counters isn't enough. You often need to take some risks and go for the combo earlier. Next, regarding Memory's Journey. If it's cast in response to Thassa's Oracle, it can rebuild the library and prevent us from winning. If you don't have counterspell backup, doubling up on Thassa's Oracle in the pile can let you play around Memory's Journey once. This is where Tormod's Crypt becomes an excellent answer to Memory's Journey. It shuts down one of the opponent's key combo lines, the Graveyard Route, offering both combo disruption and protection. And when you cast Thassa's Oracle, you can also activate Tormod's Crypt, targeting your own graveyard to prevent Memory's Journey from interfering, securing your win. This hand is too land heavy, so I'm going to mulligan. I don't see a clear path to victory with this hand, so I'm going to mulligan. I'm putting Swamp and Street Wraith on the bottom. I'm going to gauge the opponent's position. I took Force of Negation. I'm going to dig for Doomsday. I stacked Tormod's Crypt followed by Thoughtseize. I'm passing the turn with Mystical Dispute up. If my opponent uses draw spells to set up their hand next turn, I'll pick up Thoughtseize. I'm going to reassess the opponent's position. I took Force of Will. I'll counter it with Mystical Dispute. I'm going to dig for mana acceleration. I stacked a Surveil land, then a fetch land, and finally Duress, and drew them in that order. I'm going all in. From here, I'll counter it with Force of Will. An ideal setup would be Unearth Thassa's Oracle Consider, but I've sideboarded out Unearth. If Unearth had still been in the deck, I could have used the Duress in hand to check the opponent's hand, then gone Consider into Unearth to close out the game smoothly. Since the opponent has 0 cards in hand, I'm likely to win unless they top deck something strong, and with Urza's Saga on the board, I don't have the luxury of waiting too long. I'm going to build the pile as Thassa's Oracle a filler card Consider, and make an attempt to go off. In case the first attempt fails, I'll include one backup card, either Flusterstorm, Cavern of Souls, or Duress, along with a second Thassa's Oracle in the pile. Here's some feedback I received from INF at this point. First, regarding sideboarding, INF suggested that Long Goodbye should probably be sided in on the draw, since it can disrupt both the Cephalid and Nadu plans. He also mentioned that while it's a tough call, taking out Night's Whisper in exchange might be the best option. In my current list I'm running Long Goodbye, and according to INF, if that slot had instead been something like Fatal Push, it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring it in whether you're on the play or the draw. Fatal Push has a lower mana cost compared to Long Goodbye, which makes it easier to hold up while casting cantrips or Thoughtseize. INF pointed out that going all in on speed can make mulligan decisions tougher, and even running just one copy in the deck makes it significantly easier to include in a pile when needed. As for the pile I built afterward, INF mentioned that if the first Consider off the top gets countered, it's good to have Brainstorm as the second card. However, the fourth card, Flusterstorm, doesn't line up well timing-wise since there's no window to both cast it and follow up with Thassa's Oracle, so he recommended running Ponder instead. If you're not expecting 2 consecutive pieces of counterspells or removal from the top, INF suggested that it might be better to place Thassa's Oracle as the 4th card and make the 5th just a filler, something non-essential. Alright, let's go back to the point where I finished building my pile. I built the pile in the following order: Thassa's Oracle Flusterstorm, Thassa's Oracle Brainstorm Consider. Since the opponent has multiple lands in play, Duress would have likely been more effective than Flusterstorm, and I agree, it probably would have been better to reverse their order in the pile as well. I win the game with Thassa's Oracle. Lastly, I have an announcement. I'm posting the concepts behind the images used in my videos, as well as small flavor-inspired stories, in the YouTube community section. Additionally, I'm selling merch for the channel through the link in the description. If you're interested, be sure to check it out. Thank you for watching up to this point. I apologize for the many play mistakes. I hope to improve at MTG together with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. See you next time. This is Antya.